So, to discuss Trump's two implied threats, one against Greenland, the other against Iran, I'm joined by a Bolt Report regular, General Jack Keane, a former Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Army and a four-star general. He's now chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and a confidant of President Trump. I talked to him a short while ago. Why does Donald Trump say he badly wants Greenland? Now, is this a vanity project, as some suggest, or is Greenland really the vital national security issue that Donald Trump says?
Yes, it is a national security issue for sure. Multiple presidents have come to the same conclusion that President Trump has come to. But I think what's increased this is a couple things. Number one, we have two major adversaries now, China and Russia. And certainly that is a key factor. And it's always been in the interest of the United States to have early detection radar in the vicinity of Greenland in the event of ICBMs that would come from Russia. But now they would come from China as well. And they are pointed at the United States. So that security has gone up. President Trump intends to increase our air defense capabilities in the United States and likely also in Greenland. So that is an objective. The other thing that's happened to us is the ice in the Arctic is breaking up, and it makes it much more navigable to use the waters around Greenland in the Arctic portion of it to the north of it, for navigation for China and for Russia. So that's another issue that I think President Trump has on his mind. I do believe if we're going to deal with Greenland, I think there's a lot of unorthodox ways President Trump goes about issues, and I think we've seen that in the last year. I don't take all that serious, the fact that we would take Greenland by force. I mean, that is not how the world expects America to act. That hasn't been our history, certainly in the past. And I do believe, and as President Trump issued today on Truth Social, the service he uses to get his messages out, he is talking about negotiations. And they have begun, Andrew, with the ministers, foreign ministers from Greenland, from Denmark. I know the chief of NATO, Mark Rutte, who's a voice of reason, and I believe has an excellent relationship with President Trump, certainly also wants to participate in this because Greenland is of vital interest to NATO as well, based on the threat that I'm talking about. So I see this now moving in the right direction with negotiations, and hopefully we can get to a solution that benefits the people who live in Greenland, also Denmark, and the interest of the United States.
Yeah, when you see that giant landmass of Greenland straddled right between Russia and the US, I mean, it's the most direct way that you would send a missile to the US would be essentially over Greenland, really. I can see why it's so strategic. But what about the damage to America's image and just seeming to threaten? I agree with you. It seems to me just a typical Trump bluff, a bluster, attention seeking, get people to negotiate and make him a deal. But the damage that does to America's alliances and particularly the public support for them, does that concern you?
Well, yes, it does. But I do think where the president comes from, he likely believes, yes, this will last for a few weeks, but if we can get to a negotiated deal that benefits all parties, that will long since be forgotten. I think that's kind of where we are. The president has wire brushed the Europeans at times pretty significantly and threatening to pull out of NATO if they don't cough up increased defense budgets. When he said that, I never believed for a minute that President Trump would pull out of NATO, because I just happen to know he believes it's in the United States' vital interest, both politically and militarily, be a part of that alliance, and it serves the interest of the United States and the stability of the world very well. But nonetheless, he made some pretty strong rhetorical statements about all of that, and I do think we've recovered from it.
Yeah, well, I also believe that Trump realizes, I mean, he's basically said as much, that the crazier he acts, people think, oh, it's just so crazy, he just might do it, is the only way that his threats actually work. So it's in his interest to keep people guessing about his real intentions. Speaking of real intentions, the president threatened to attack Iran if it didn't stop executing people protesting against the regime. Then he seemed to back off, reportedly, some say, under pressure from some Muslim countries. The regime looks like it now could survive the protests after killing a reported 16,000 Iranians. What do you think is now going to happen?
Well, the president has been pretty clear that he intends to hold the Iranians accountable, for killing their people, and the numbers are staggering to say the least. This for our audience to understand the amount of killing that the Iranians actually admit to. 5,000 dead is Iranians' number. It's going to likely be higher than that. Over 20,000 in prison. That's going to be likely higher than that. But even their numbers they admit to would be the most barbaric pushback on the Iranian people in the 46-year history of the regime. And President Trump has said that he wants the leadership of Iran to be replaced. He's looking for this regime to collapse. I believe that is the direction we are moving. I don't for a minute believe, while I know for a fact some of the Arab states did call President Trump, they did not have any material effect on why there may have been a perception of a delay in military action. I'm confident military action is going to take place, but the action is likely, and this is just looking at the facts, is going to be because when you examine what are the likely targets, certainly one of the things the administration has to take into consideration with its military advisors, what is Iran going to do to retaliate? We have a lot of bases in the region, and the Israelis are likely to be attacked. When you walk through that, that means we have to expand the target set to include ballistic missiles to reduce the impact of that retaliation attack, and also make certain that the air defense systems that can defeat ballistic missiles, and there's certain systems to do that have to be in the region to assist the defense of Israel and also the defense of the U.S. bases. I believe that is likely the reason for any perception of a delay. The president said he's going to hold them accountable. I have some confidence that he's going to do just that.
Fascinating stuff. And of course, Iran being such an enemy of the West, it's also stirred up anti-Semitic attacks in Australia itself just last year. I think this is going to be very, very significant. General Jack Keane, tremendous insights. Thank you so much for your time.